Phil Spencer has confirmed yet again that Call of Duty will remain on PlayStation, and he's going to keep saying that until he is blue in the face, apparently. There's a lot of great details, however, on this podcast for The Verge. Tom Warren tweeted about this. Everybody's talking about this morning. Let's talk about how people reacted to it and what has changed about Phil Spencer's stance that will be to the benefit of Sony. Let's dive in right now. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. It helps the channel out a lot. Like the video, all that good stuff. I do appreciate it. So we're going to dive in right away here and talk about this video that has been going around on social media because my timeline was blowing up this morning. So let me just unmute and we will listen to it together. Here's what Phil Spencer said. Oh, audio is a little messed up on OBS again, so let me just fix that really quick. It is defaulting to the incorrect thing for some reason, but save changes. All right, let's try it again.
We think Call of Duty will be on PlayStation as long as players want to play Call of Duty on PlayStation, and that's not a competitive threat against PlayStation. That's just a pragmatic way of looking at it.
This brings me back to game streaming, right? Because one way you could get Call of Duty on PlayStation...
Native Call of Duty on PlayStation, not linked to them having to carry Game Pass. If they want a streaming version of Call of Duty on we could do that as well, just like we do on our own consoles. There's nothing behind my back. It is the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 doing great on PlayStation, doing great on Xbox. The next game, the next game, like native on the platform, not having to subscribe to Game Pass. Sony does not have to take Game Pass on their platform to make that happen. There's nothing hidden. We want to continue to ship Call of Duty on PlayStation without any kind of weird, I figured out the gotcha.
Someone has sent you the digest of angry tweets about this. I can tell that you're like ready to fight with the people online.
Now what? Now what? What is the stupid thing that everybody's going to have to read on Twitter about this Call of Duty deal? Do you still not believe him? How many different ways does he have to say? Not going to require Game Pass. It's not going to be a cloud streaming version of the game. There's no trickery. There's nothing hidden. They're being very clear with the CMA now. They're being very clear with the EU. The FTC will now know that Call of Duty will remain on PlayStation. They're willing to even sign paperwork. I saw articles today where Phil Spencer has actually said, we are willing to sign agreements with Sony about this also, so they'll be more than willing about to sign any sort of consent decree that would involve PlayStation continuing to have Call of Duty. So what is the argument now? Spoilers, there isn't one. And it's going to be really interesting to see how this case proceeds, as this has been the main talking point of Sony. And they're going to have to adjust their tune to continue looking like the victim, which is what they've been trying to do throughout this entire proceeding. So here's what Tom Warren tweeted about it. He said, Microsoft's Xbox chief has settled the Call of Duty on PlayStation debate once and for all. Appearing on The Verge's Decoder podcast, Spencer said he's open to a longer-term commitment that Sony would be comfortable with. And then he said that there. And Daniel Ahmad followed up and actually said that this is why Sony has been so vocal on this point and pushed for regulatory pressure, because it was previously a short-term commitment. Now, I don't think there was any... there was something drafted before there was an announcement, but since the announcement and continuing forward from there, they have said that Call of Duty will remain multi-platform. It was actually shortly after that announcement that they confirmed they want it to remain on PlayStation. So for several months, that is what they've been saying. Daniel Mann responding to some people, yep, Xbox has been consistent with messaging recently. I would say it's been even longer than recently. I'm talking about the original deal, though. The only thing that Daniel Ahmad is referencing is a communication between Sony and Microsoft that happened before the merger was even announced. So that's what he's referencing. Ultimately, Sony is using the argument that both Sony and Microsoft can no longer compete for the franchise because one would hold the power in this case. And OG Central, wasn't it literally the other week when he said it would remain on PlayStation as long as there's one to ship to? I'm oversimplifying it here, but the reason why this deal is being seen differently by all parties is because, whoa, it's 28 times the value of the Mojang deal, for example, hence why regulators may ask for concessions and hence why Microsoft and Sony are generating talking points. It is a bigger deal, and I'll give you that. But the crux of the reason that it would be shut down would be is if it created a anti-competitive field for gaming. And if you look at the Game of the Year nominations, basically, let me just bring this up really quick because I didn't have it prepped right off the top of my head. But here are the most nominated publishers of the year. Sony Interactive has 20 nominations. Annapurna has 11. Nintendo has 11. Bandai Namco has 8. Riot 6. EA 5. Focus 5. Finji 4. Square Enix 4. WB Games 4. Because, like it or not, Xbox didn't release a lot of stuff this year, so they didn't get a ton of nominations. So Sony Interactive has 20 nominations because they had a lot of releases this year, and Microsoft, that one criticism for Microsoft not getting their house in order and coming up with those consistent releases is very, very true. Now they're buying Activision Blizzard to help bolster that release schedule, and the fact that Call of Duty would remain multi-platform is very profitable, and hopefully longer term, once they get things in order, they're able to continue releasing great games at a regular cadence. It really felt like they were hitting their stride in 2021, and then 2022 was just a barren wasteland, so to speak. I know Pentiment just came out and got a 10 out of 10 from a lot of people, but they have a lot of work to do in that respect. Continuing on with the original thread, though, let me see if I can zoom in one more for y'all. I'm oversimplifying it here, but one reason why this deal is even being seen differently. Okay, we talked about that. Microsoft never made a contract to keep Minecraft on PlayStation when it acquired Mojang and went through regulatory approvals. Sony hadn't made a contract to keep Microsoft to keep Destiny on Xbox either after the Bungie acquisition went through regulatory approvals. Daniel said, yep. Not sure how that applies, though. I'm not saying Sony is right or wrong. Is there a continuation here? I think the broader context is that these type of commitments are well outside of industry norms when it comes to M&A activity, and Sony is well aware of that when they say inadequate, but then this deal size is outside of norms, so who were the norms are now? I think what Tom is trying to say is he's like, so like, what are the norms? So like, nobody's asking about Mojang, nobody's asking about Bungie, nobody's asking about who else did he list? So yeah, nobody's asking about Mojang, nobody's asking about Destiny, but now all of a sudden we need to have consent decrees for this deal, even though if you look at the math, like it's very clear Sony would be absolutely fine, even if they lost every single cent from the merger of Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard. If they lost everything, then they would still be the market leader. So it's a little ridiculous, I think, that the consent decrees are even necessary. But I mean, the fact that PlayStation gamers are still going to have Call of Duty, that's fine. That's fine. Short term is in the eye of the beholder, Richard Hogue said, but what Xbox P3 says here is exactly what I've been saying in virtual legality for 10 months now. Xbox has long signaled it's willing to agree to COD delivery. What it won't do, what it can't do, is make a perpetual commitment. So you can't say like in 20 years, COD will remain on PlayStation. And he has a very long video about that. If you want to watch an hour of Hogue talk about why they can't do perpetual agreements, I will link you to that in the bottom. This is likely obvious intuitively, but it costs millions to make Call of Duty game. No one knows that it will be a good investment in 2032 or 2037. Buying Activision cannot be a suicide pact, so one thing regulators at Microsoft will do is find a number like 7 years. Are they afraid for commitment cause? There's always a possibility that some big tech can just buy Sony. No business can enter into a perpetual, non-terminatable commitment. It binds the company to futures unknown. So basically what he's saying is you can't just agree to something for the rest of your life because you don't know what the future holds. Call of Duty could like suddenly bomb, and then they still have to make Call of Duty a failing series for multiple platforms, it just wouldn't make business sense, right? And just giving a real quick shout out to the people that conducted this interview. Nile Patel, Phil Spencer, Xbox P3 is one of my favorite Decoder guests. This week we chatted about Xbox Supply, game streaming, Apple rules, and of course the Activision deal. It's all about Candy Crush and mobile games, people. Mobile is a place where if we don't gain relevancy as a gaming brand over time, the business will become untenable. I think that's true, and this is why I was like, why am I yellow in my shot? Phil Spencer really wants you to know that native Call of Duty will remain on PlayStation. And that's all I have for you today. I just wanted to share that with you. Do you think Call of Duty will remain on PlayStation as long as the PlayStation exists? I hope so. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I'm going to get out of here, but hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. There's another video you should watch. I'll link to it at the end of the video that talks about, just another story about this deal when Phil said it last time, or the comments. Here's what I'm going to link to. Sorry. The comments that Sony has made about how it's inadequate. I'll link to that video because you'll have more context as to why he's saying this 500 times. If you want to become a member, you can become a member by clicking that join button right down there. Thank you to the members for supporting this channel. I greatly appreciate you. Join button is right there. Floyd, Connor, Geezer, Charles, a lot of these people have been supporting the channel like since I started kicking things off with the Xbox talks. So I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I'm going to get out of here and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.